Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Omar, the creator of Astrology.com, and today we're talking about the moon. When it comes to astrology, the moon is just as important as the sun. It's the closest object to the earth, and in comparison to the sun, it's the second brightest object in our sky. The moon is in a synchronous rotation with the earth, which is why we only see one side of the moon. So technically there is no dark side of the moon or bright side. It's just the one side that we, happen to be able to see from the earth. The gravitational influences of the moon produces high tides, low tides, and can even affect the length of the day in some respects. The moon's apparent size is almost the same size as the sun. This happens because the sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon, but it's also about 400 times further away from the earth as the moon is. So its size looks about the same when we look up in the sky. This also proves to be true during a total solar eclipse. When the moon goes in front of the sun, it almost blocks it out completely. The moon itself doesn't produce any light, but instead acts as a giant mirror for the sun. So this itself is the inherent nature of the moon. The moon is feminine in nature. It's receptive. It's a reflection of the sun. The moon's domain is the night sky. It rules the subconscious faculties of human nature. The moon speaks to our emotional side, the part of the human nature that's fluid, that's intuitive. It speaks to the part of us that ebbs and flows, similar to that of the tides, coming and going. And it's because the moon speaks to our emotional side is why there's so much lore and legend about the moon and human nature and how we react to the full moon. The moon tends to activate the baser instincts in us.
Wow! That's the biggest moon I've ever...
And while that image of werewolves and all that is obviously fiction, there is a side of us that is activated by the full moon because the full moon talks to us in an emotional level. I mean, there are plenty of studies to suggest that during a full moon, crime actually goes up in some respects. And because the moon talks to that part of us that's sensitive, that's fluid, that's intuitive, the moon rules the emotions of the masses. It represents the mass consciousness, if you will. Wherever the moon is in your chart, that's the area of your life where you're the most emotionally invested. Look to where the moon is in your chart to get an understanding of how you perceive, your mother or the person in your life that's the mother-like figure. And if you want to know about, that person in your life that's a father-like figure, you're going to look to Saturn, but we can touch on that another time. The moon rules the sign of Cancer, and thus it rules the fourth house. This is where we'll get a sense of how we have our views about home life. And just as the sun represents our character, the moon, the reflection of the sun, represents our personality. And just like the physical moon can eclipse the sun's light, our personalities can also eclipse our character and prevent our true self from shining through. We should always strive to have our true self, our character, shine through with very little hindrance of our personality. And the problem with that is our personality can oftentimes be hindered or colored by our feelings, our subconscious hang-ups that we may have. And all of this only clouds the light of our character shining through. What the moon teaches us is to learn emotional intelligence. Being able to be in tune with our feelings, but not letting it dictate our life. And depending on how your moon is aspected in your chart will give you a sense or an indication on how you react to things emotionally, right? If your moon is well aspected, you have a better sense of emotional control, you have a better sense of emotional intelligence, and a lot of the ways you react to the world emotionally may struggle if there's a difficult aspect to your moon. So in all, when we think about the moon in our chart, we have to give it equal consideration as if we were considering the sun in our chart as well. And that's because the moon has such a strong influence, not only in a physical sense, but in an astrological sense as well. So take a look at your chart, find out where the moon is, find out what house it's in, find out what aspects. And does this give you an indication on how you react to things emotionally? And as always, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, peace and love, everyone.